Hello, 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 guys. How are you guys today? This is Affinity Black at you guys. One more time, one more time. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is Affinity Black at you guys. I am very grateful for you guys. During the past 13 segments, we have discussed various topics. Today we will be, revisiting past topics based on feedback that we received the last few segments. Everyone enjoyed watching Edwin and all the insight that he had to give you guys. And so he should be popping up soon, to kind of like enlighten us and give us his pointers and the things that he thinks about, everything that we have discussed over the course of maybe 3 months. So I'm very grateful, to like be able to come on and just have various discussions about different things. And I'm just like really grateful. If you guys are on, just let us know that you're here with us. Pop your name in the comment box and let us know that you're here. So, last few segments, we had discussions about, social media and relationships, what the problem was with that. We also had discussions about single parenthood and who has it worse, men or women. And we had different people on our panel who, had various opinions about it. And, it was a little controversial, but it was all great conversation. We also talked about dating in 2022 in the age of social media. And I mean, we had heated conversations about that. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing for the past 13 videos that we've had. And, we've had a few people tune in. We also discussed relationship standards or preferences, and are people willing to compromise? And, we also had a lot of opinions on that. And, we often find ourselves in situations where, people settle or they compromise thinking that things are going to change. And so Eddie, he's going to come on today and just kind of give us some insight on what his thoughts are and, give us something to enlighten us with. We also discussed the importance of believing in oneself and manifestation. And oh my God, that was amazing. And a lot of people love our conversations with that as well. Sorry. And it's been amazing. It's been so amazing. Please put some comments down if you guys are watching. Feel free to join us. We're on live every Tuesdays at 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and 8 o'clock Central Time and Central Standard. So definitely tune in with us every week just to see, what we have going on. And give us 1 second. We'll be right back with you guys. Hey, Eddie, what's going on?
What's up, cousin?
I hear an echo.
You hear an echo?
Yeah.
I know that's not good. Wait a minute.
Okay, let's go. We can fix that. How you doing today? You look fabulous.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Am I still echoing or no?
Just a little bit, but you're fine. You look good.
Okay, great. Okay, good. How about now? Am I coming in clear now?
You're coming in clear. How have you been?
I've been well. Last week was amazing. I truly enjoyed myself.
Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed having you on. So what's been going on? What's been going on with your week? How have you been?
You lagged a little bit. Oh, you lagged a little bit, sis. Can you start over what you were saying?
How was your day? How's your week has been going?
My day and my week has gone well. I've had an exciting and eventful week, but everything is coming together per usual.
That's good. That's good. I kind of like updated our viewers on, what we've discussed over the past, 13 segments. And, we have a
Mhm.
video every week, every Tuesday. And so I wanted to kind of give you a recap on what's been taking place, what's been happening, and just kind of get
Mhm.
your insight and your POV,
Yes,
because
come on, I'm
everyone,
so appreciative.
I don't know if everything matters more than yours. So let's see what's going on. So like the first topic that we discussed, um, over the last 13 segments was social media and relationships. What's the problem? I'm going to just dive right in because this is what we do here, get straight to the point. So, social media and relationships, what's the problem? Do you think that social media affects relationships and
The
marriages?
thing about when I think about social media and I think about relationships, I think about the fact that people have to ask what they use social media for. So for me, I use my social media entertains me, baby. My social media is a key, okay? My social media entertains me 24/7, and I understand that it's a platform for people to connect, but I also understand that it's a platform where people come as aliases and people come and disguise themselves, and they use it as a platform to be mean. So for me, I use social media as a form to interact with my supporters and as a form of entertainment. So I really feel like social media cannot affect somebody's relationship. The only thing that can affect someone's relationship is the people who are in the relationship.
Right, right. And so we had a few people that felt like they don't show their social status on social media. Is that
Mhm.
like, should that be an issue within any relationship, or what are your thoughts on that?
I've been in friendships where my friends per se wouldn't post me on their social media, and
Mhm.
I would tell myself that my relationship with my friend isn't contingent on social media. But I guess when you get into a relationship, I don't know. Some people want to feel maybe that's a validation for them. Like they feel if my partner posts me, then they feel, oh my God, they feel like validated or they feel seen. But your relationship should go far beyond social media. You should feel seen in your relationship outside of social media.
Right. Okay, that's amazing. And so like moving on, we're gonna go discuss the second topic that we went over, over the course of the weeks. Single parenthood and who has it worse, harder, who has it harder, I'm sorry, men or women. So that was a two-part series, but I mean a two-part video. And so I want to know what your thoughts on that first. Who does have it harder? Do you believe, like,
I'm
let's
not
go.
a parent, so I don't want anyone to get offended about what I'm about to say. But what I will say, when it comes to parenthood, when parents are divorcing or splitting,
Wait, we can't hear you. No. Okay. Hold on. Eddie's video's lagging. He should come right back in. I mean, he has a lot of great things to say. Give us 1 second to bring him back on in. There we go. We are back. We're back.
now,
We can hear you better now. Yes.
and I took my headset off. Maybe that was the problem, like the Bluetooth connection and stuff. So can you hear me clearly?
Clearly, we can
Okay.
go ahead. Okay.
Okay,
So, oh, right.
so the last
Um,
topic we were talking about was children. So boom. So I feel like the people who suffer the most when a relationship splits, whether it's a marriage or whether it's a relationship, is the children. And I think the most important thing that parents can do is provide an opportunity to show their children that in life you have break.
Mm-hmm.
A breakdown. I feel like people feel like because the marriage is over, because the relationship is over, they can't love each other anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest issue. You can still love someone, but it doesn't have to be love that's rooted in intimacy. It could be love in we created a specimen together, we created a child together, and
Mm-hmm.
our focus now moving forward, although things didn't work out between us, should be creating a healthy space for our child and showing them that in life you're going to end relationships, and this is how you do it in a healthy way.
Okay, so a lot of people, well, some people that came on during that video, they talked about like some of some of the things that either a mother had done to a father, or how a relationship, after a relationship split, how they, one party or the other would basically manipulate situations and maybe use the child as bait, and maybe take the baby father to court, or seek child support. And one of the major things that we talked about was how women have like the upper hand in the judicial system and the court system. And so what do you think about that? I mean, like from, you know, or even like back to what it was like for when you grew up, is that something that, maybe people are experiencing childhood issues where when they become adults, that this has like translated, like spilled over into like their adulthood? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
100%. How you learn how to communicate, how you
Yeah.
learn how to communicate and engage with how you, so basically with your children, when they have an upset or when they have a breakdown, it's a parent's responsibility to gauge and police their children's emotions. You have to teach your children that, if you fall on the floor and hurt yourself, that's not a big problem. That's not as big as, let's say, you breaking a piece of glass and stepping on the glass. Those are two different scenarios. You falling on the floor and you stepping on glass are two different scenarios. So the most important thing that you have to do while raising your children is teaching them how to police their emotions. And if you don't teach your children how to communicate and how to police their emotions, then guess what happens? For the rest of their life, they won't know how to police their emotions and they won't know how to communicate in situations. So yes, history has proven that the mom is the one who does all the job, that the mom is the one who is basically the one who but for circumstances where there are, I'm sure there's situations where women have fallen short and the husband has had to fall out. Like I said earlier, the most important thing for people to do when they part from one another is to make sure they create a safe space for their children. And most parents don't do that. They don't create a safe space for their children, and they then begin to have discord, and they then begin to start issues that didn't have to be prevalent. But for me, if someone is being manipulative after your relationship has ended, that means they were manipulative when the relationship started.
Right. So, do you think that maybe men, or who do you think has it worse? I mean, between in the relationship, like, sometimes women carry the bulk of the responsibility once there's a shift in the relationship, right?
Mhm.
So you said that the children have it worse, but do you think that women carry more of a responsibility? Do you think men have, they are in, there's an injustice when it comes to men?
I
What do you?
think people as a whole have lost the essence of building a relationship and getting to know people. A lot of people don't take the time to get to know their spouse or to get to know the person that they're in a relationship and truly build a friendship.
Mhm.
Most people who I know who have gotten into relationships and who have had children didn't take the time to get to know their spouse or didn't take the time to get to know their significant other. And then what happens is you end up having so much strife and so much conflict in your relationship that could have been avoided had you gotten
Mhm.
and end up having children with.
Right, right, right. I agree with that. So what do you have to say about men who are struggling in, like, in a situation where they feel like everything is unfair?
Well,
Like,
we have to look back to how men were raised. Men were raised to be tough. Men were raised to not show emotions. Men were raised that if they showed emotion, they were either being gay or they were being a girl or they needed to toughen up. So most children and most men are not taught to feel or to have emotions. And like as an example, one of my friends who I went to college with, his girlfriend broke up with him. He found out his girlfriend was cheating when we got to college. And that he was like distraught.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, child, you are hurt right now." I said, "Do you know it's okay for you to shed a tear? Do you know that if you cry right now, that doesn't make you less of a man, that makes you more of a man?" And right there in that moment, he shed a tear and he started to cry and he started to feel better. And he learned then that being a man doesn't mean that you can't be emotional. So I think the problem is that a lot of people get into relationships with men who were not taught how to show emotions, were not taught how to show affection. You know what I'm saying? And then us as people, we are all fixers and we feel like we could just fix people and we could just teach people and we could mold people into who we want them to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, like, what do you think? Like, do you think that with men coming together, maybe speaking up about, these things, and maybe, like, what are your suggestions? Like, what are some resources that men can use to, navigate that, or even like tap into their emotion and be able to, respond to situations that where they feel like things are unfair?
One of my favorite books that I have by Yana Van Zant is called The Spirit of the Man. And it is just a guide to teach Black men and all men around the country how to get in tune with their power, how to get in tune with the essence of what men were made to be. And I feel like if men were to take a little bit more time to know that it's okay to be emotional and being emotion doesn't make you less of a man, it makes you more of a man, then we will have a better place. People have to stop telling their children, oh, to not be tough or to always be tough. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be hurt. Those are human emotions. And when you tell someone that their emotion isn't valid, they start to suppress it. And then what happens? Their anger shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of crying, what they'll do is they'll be enraged. When under that rage is hurt and pain and emotions that they were never taught how to feel.
So have you ever had any of those experiences as a child that maybe affected you growing up?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Have you ever had those, any of those?
Xfinity tomorrow, and we're gonna discuss this Wi-Fi because I live by myself. I turned off the Wi-Fi on my cell phone, and this Wi-Fi is just lagging. Oh, I'm gonna address them after this call because they got me looking crazy.
Look, it's okay. It's okay because you know what? I think you're doing such a great job, and I think you have a lot of things to say. So, we can work past that. So like, as a child, have you experienced anything that affected you as you got older, where you weren't able to express your emotion, and maybe you expressed your emotion with rage or, anger or maybe frustration, like,
Rage, anger, and frustration are not ever habits that I kind of really practiced too much growing up. I went through a lot growing up as a kid, and I suffered a lot. And I went through a multitude of things that could have made me a sour person. But instead of leading to a sourness and bitterness, I led towards peace and happiness and joy. And I always knew that no matter what I was going through, that moment will pass, and that peace was on the other side of any situation God put me in, and that there was a lesson in everything that I had to learn. So I'm reading a book called A Course in Miracles, Foundation for Inner Peace. And lesson 193 is all things are lessons that God would have me learn. Again, I say all things are lessons that God will have me learn. So when you learn that all the things that you are part of a facilitation of growth, then you know then that everything is going to always be okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, what led you to like thinking positive and being positive despite what you experienced?
The reason why I always chose positivity because it's so much easier to be angry and to be vengeful. But I always thought that what I got going on, I cannot infiltrate that or I cannot inflict that onto other people. What I got going on is nobody's business.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I almost dropped my laptop. So what I got going on is nobody's business, and I shouldn't take out my personal business, and I shouldn't take out what I got going on and all the smoke that I have inside on other people. So I always just chose to be kind and to be nice. But does that mean that I don't get a girl to think what I do is I save my attitude for people in the streets. So if a cashier or a waiter gets crazy, oh baby, you don't even know, baby, you could get all this smoke. So the other day, me and my good friend, we went to lunch, and the waiter, she was being so nasty and so rude. I'm not even going to name her ethnicity because that's not important. The importance is that we were at her job where she waits tables with, she works off tips as well. And her behavior was just nasty. So you know what we did? We left her no tip. We put a big fat zero with a slash in between and a smiley face. And she knows why she got that, for being nasty.
And that's how you handle that.
That's how I handle people. I leave my smoke for people in the streets who are nasty. I don't give my smoke to my friends or to people who I say that I love.
Right. So we're gonna move to the next thing. Our third topic for, give me 1 second, was paying premium price for basic services. When you hear that, what comes to mind?
When I think of,
Let's relate it to relationships though.
okay.
It has to be related to that. Or even any I guess any relationship, work relationship, friendship, just paying premium price for basic services.
I feel like when I think about the phrase that you're just saying, paying premium prices for
Basic services.
basic services is getting into a relationship with someone who you did not know and being getting into a relationship with someone you did not know and
Mm-hmm.
obnoxious. This person is doing a bunch of things that you dislike, but the only person that you should kind of be upset with is yourself. Because if you would have taken the time, if you would have taken the time to get to know the person, then you would have known, oh, maybe this person isn't for me. Maybe we're better off just being friends and not being being in an intimate relationship. But we live in a world now where everybody wants to be in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? And for me, what I've learned through my teachings and from Yonda Van Zandt is the only relationship that you can be in is a reflection of the relationship that you're in with yourself. So if you want somebody to be good to you, start out by being good to yourself. So you can't expect for someone to be this amazing, outstanding person and set expectations that the person never met. If the people, it's only but so much that you could put on a facade of who you are. After a while, you're going to start to smell and you're going to start to be yourself. But I think a lot of people ignore situations or ignore behaviors that they just.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you talked a little bit about accountability. Do you think that people have issues like being accountable for, going into situations that, they know aren't good for them?
Girl, once you become aware, you become accountable. And
Right.
lots of people don't hold themselves accountable in life. And another book that I'm reading called The Seed of the Soul, I actually have it right here.
The seed of the soul.
It's called The Seed of the Soul. It says people do not hold themselves accountable because they equate holding themselves accountable to getting caught.
Geez, let's talk a little bit about that.
The
Give us an
thing is that he didn't even explain it after. He goes off and he just makes a blank statement and moves on to what the premise of the chapter. What I've learned is the reason why people don't hold themselves accountable because people, like he said, they feel like they're getting caught as opposed to saying, hey, I'm so sorry that I offended you. Lots of people have a hard time holding themselves accountable because they were never taught how to hold themselves accountable. Holding yourself accountable means not saying but, not saying if. It means I am sorry for offending you, period.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But people
Now,
have a hard time doing that.
right. Have you been in any instances where you didn't hold yourself accountable for certain things, like certain actions?
Hold myself accountable. That is a part of my moral compass. That's a part of my integrity. That is a part of my way of being. It's just a part of who I am. And I actually have ended relationships with even people who I consider who are my relatives because through blood because they don't hold themselves accountable. And that is a difficulty for me because when you
Mm-hmm.
it's like a can of biscuits. It opens up and you can't unopen it. You can't seal it back. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, now you're telling me that which I'm expressing to you occurred, didn't happen. So now we open other avenues. Now you're gaslighting me. You know what I'm saying? Now you're telling me that which happened did not happen. And then now you're playing with my head. And that's abusive. And sometimes when people hear the word abuse, they automatically run to someone putting their hands on them. But no, abuse stems so much more than domestic violence than violence.
Let's stop right there real quick. Abuse, because I think we all, like a lot of people, do equate abuse to just physical. Can you give us an example of what can be an abuse? Like, because a lot of people don't really know that they're in an abusive relationship.
So there's different types of abuse. There's emotional abuse, there's mental abuse, there's physical abuse, and there's spiritual abuse. Somebody could be in a relationship with you and know your triggers and do things to
Mm-hmm.
you about me that are triggers or that I went through. And instead of being a kind person, you are now weaponizing that which I shared with you. I didn't tell you my business for you to start using that against me. I told you my business so that you can have a further understanding of me. So you can not understand as an excuse of why I do what I do, but it's just like, hey, these are some things that I went through in life, and these are some of the things that I've overcome. But people take those moments and they take those opportunities to just
vulnerabilities, and
yes.
they use them.
That's why people don't get vulnerable. That's why people don't sit here and open up about the things that they went through, because they are afraid that people are going to weaponize what they shared with them.
Mm-hmm. How often had you gone through that before you decided to sever ties with people? Like,
Well,
how many times did you experience a situation before you were like, you know what, I'm done?
Not for for bad behavior. So back in 2015, me and my cousin, we realized, not your cousin, my other cousin.
Listen, I thought it was just me. I thought it was only me. But go ahead.
We realized that something wasn't right.
Okay, and what was it that was not right that you realized?
As you can see now, I love Iyanla Van Zandt. I started reading yesterday. I cried. Celebrating life's lessons. And I realized then that it wasn't me who was insane. It wasn't me who was crazy. It was the people who raised me who were, they did, let me say this, before I say that they were not too well or didn't make the best decisions, they did the best they could with what they knew. I grew up in an immigrant household with parents who weren't able to pursue higher education here in the States. They pursued some sort of higher education in Honduras, but the education in Honduras is not equivalent to the education here in the US. And both my parents were laborers.
Right.
So I was, by default, I spent a lot of time with my siblings, and as a result, everyone did the best that they could with what they knew. But just because you did the best that you could with what you knew doesn't mean that the things that you inflicted onto me that were unwarranted didn't affect me. Right. So there has been numerous people in my life who I've had to sever ties with and relationships with, purely because not only did not only were they, did I get to the point where this felt abusive, but they did not hold themselves accountable. And when you don't hold yourself accountable, you open up a whole nother world, a whole nother line of communication that could have never happened, that could have been avoided by you just saying, hey, you know what? I know that I offended you and I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to offend you.
Do you have like a personal experience of something that maybe you can like tell our viewers, talk to our viewers about, just so they can understand exactly what that is?
And this person shifted the paradigm of my life and taught me so much, and for that I'm so grateful. But coupled with all that this person taught me, this person was also being abusive.
How so?
This person was weaponizing the things that I shared with them and using those things against me. So whenever I made a mistake or whenever I had a mishap, that person will bring up, oh, you do this because of this. So when I sat down and I spoke to my therapist, she said, what you have to understand, Edwin, is that although you are moving forward and you have moved past things, it takes people a longer time to move past things than what it takes. What you may have moved past something, but that doesn't mean that the other party that you're dealing with has moved past it as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And sometimes people weaponize the things that you put them through because maybe they may be intimidated by you. Maybe they want something that you have. You know what I'm saying? So when someone sees that you are a light, when someone sees that you are a joy,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to do is they're going to be negative. They're going to try to break you down, and that's when you have to know, hey, I've seen this somewhere and I can't be a participant in this anymore. And I think people have a hard time ending relationships because they don't want to be alone. I was about to curse. I guess I say I fuck with myself. Excuse my language. Like I'm my own best friend. I enjoy being with myself. I entertain myself, and I keep myself.
You have to love yourself.
And it took me a long time to get to this place, but because I love myself, anytime you get me to the point where I have to choose me or you, that's how I know, one, the relationship is over, and two, it's always going to be me. So once you've gotten me to the point that I've had to choose myself, I know that this relationship has come to a halt.
Well, let me ask you, you mentioned something about this person shifting the paradigm of your life. So is that something to be careful of? Because that's scary how someone can come in and, kind of do all of these amazing things. And then at the same time, it's like, oh my God, like this person is not really the best person to be around. Like this person, the energy is not right. Something is not right there. So how does the person go from shifting like the paradigm in your life to then being like this negative person?
I pride myself on holding myself accountable, so I can't tell you guys to hold yourself accountable if I don't hold myself accountable. I stood in this relationship with this person longer than what I should have. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason why I stood in this relationship longer than I should have, because there was something in it for me. Not only was I receiving a pay, but there was numerous opportunities that I needed to seize and that I knew would help shift my life. And I stood longer than what I should have. And when I started being in this relationship, I was in breakdown. I was going through so much in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
safe space for me. So I overindulged and shared so much. I mean, I told this person my life story. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know until later on in our relationship that what everything that I shared, this person was just making a pot of brew. And anytime this person got upset, this person said, "You do this because of this." But girl, if I would have never told you what I've been through, then what would you say at this moment?
Nothing.
You know what I'm saying? So as a result, I had to choose myself. I had to say, you know what? I can't continue to be in this relationship because you are abusive. Someone could be good for you and bad for you too. And what is it? A positive and a negative will never work. This person also was someone who didn't hold themselves accountable, who always wanted things to go their way. And that doesn't work. A relationship is a 50-50. And the basis and the foundations of a relationship is respect. And once respect has been lost, there's no longer a relationship.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned a relationship being 50-50. Is that what it really is? Like, is that what you believe? Or
Say 50-50. It really should be 100-100. 100% of the best part of yourself should be showing up to a relationship. If you are not emotionally or mentally healthy, you need to seek therapy, or you need to get into some personal development. You need to find what your source is so that you could get to the root of your issues. A lot of people have unresolved in their life. You understand what I'm saying? So many people have so many issues that they never resolved. So when you have unresolved, that will persist in every area of your life. A lot of people like to put on too. So you're gonna go behave for your man, but you're gonna get crazy with your friend. When you know your man deserves for you to get crazy with him. There we go. You're not universal in your practices. So you go put on for your man. You go put on a smile on your face, and then with your friends, you always got something to say to your friend, but you never got something to say to your man. That's an imbalance of energy. Because you're not being authentic self, and you're not being universal in your behavior, and people have a difficult time being universal in behavior. I am who I am everywhere I go. Now, of course, I'm at work and I'm in a professional environment. Of course, the professional Eddie goes on, but I don't lose my morals. You know what I'm saying? I don't lose what's the foundation of how I show up in the world. And people lose that foundation when they show up in different spaces.
Mm-hmm. So going back to paying premium price for basic services.
Mm-hmm.
How can you relate that to a lot of people in their relationships? Do you think that people are overdoing for others than they should be?
100%. A lot of people settle. They don't want to be by themselves. So you want to be in a relationship so bad that you are willing to compromise that which you know you want. You see, we don't get to, Yana Van Zandt again says, we don't get to tell people how to love us. We see how they love, and we make a decision if we want to be a participant in how that person chooses to love.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so many people don't make those decisions. They want to be in a relationship that they are willing to compromise and hurt themselves, and essentially you're abusing yourself because you're in a situation that no longer serves you.
Do you, again, like going back to that, staying in an abusive relationship, or staying longer than what you're supposed to? Are people allowing that form of abuse because that's what they seen growing up?
Thank you for saying that. People only habituate what they saw when they was younger. If you saw your mom be a warrior and stick by the foolishness that your father did their whole entire marriage, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be in the same situation. And, that makes me think about cheating. So let me ask something.
Talk about that.
So what I've learned in my work is that if you forgive someone for cheating, I want to teach you guys something. Guess what? You have just introduced cheating into your relationship indirectly. You forgive someone for something, all they're going to do is get smart at it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we 5 years, 5 more years, or 2 more years, or 3 more years into the relationship, and now your love for this person is deeper. And we've been to the hoosca already. So we've been in this situation already where you've cheated and not forgiven you for it. So now you've indirectly told me that it is okay for me to cheat on you because you're gonna forgive me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing, Eddie. Like, we're gonna move on to the next topic that we had, dating in 2022 in the age of social media. What's that like for people these days? Are you dating?
Well, no, I've never been in a relationship and no man will claim me, and that's okay. I cook, I clean, I'm a vibe, maybe I'm the problem. No, in all seriousness, there's
Yeah.
a sensation of human that I know needs to continue to persist. Growing up, my father was a very, very emotionally, mentally, physically, and verbally abusive. So it was, we forgot one.
Mm-hmm.
As a result to that, I know for a fact through all my work of therapy that affects how I show up in different circumstances that I've been in my life. So there's been numerous times where I've dated and I've talked to guys and I see how my trauma shows up. So because
How
the
so?
hmm?
Tell us about that. Like, how did your trauma show up? Like, in what way? What forms?
It is a parent's responsibility to instill self-confidence, love, trust, everything that love encompasses. It's a parent's responsibility to teach their child that. And if they don't teach your child that, then you are now responsible to teach yourself that. So that's what part of my work when I got to college was. I went to Morehouse College, shout out to Morehouse. And when I got to Morehouse, I realized that I was in breakdown and I realized that I was running and that I left New York. And although I had left New York, I thought that once I got to Atlanta, it was going to be that I could start all over. But no, baby, once I passed, I thought my joke was, I left all my issues Pastor Mason Dixon line.
Mm-hmm.
All my issues are there. But no, my issues came when me Pastor Mason Dixon line. Any issue that you don't resolve in life becomes unresolved. And all those issues will continue to persist if you don't heal them. Anything that goes unhealed it's just going to sit there. So you can run from your problems, but the problems will be right there waiting for you. So for me, how does it show up in my relationship? If a man doesn't text back in 24 hours, or if I don't hear back from him, I start to say that I'm the problem. Then, oh my God, what did I say wrong? I grab my phone, I start reading our text messages. Oh my God, maybe did he get offended by this? When I don't know, there's a multitude of things that could have happened. But my go-to in any time that I'm in a situation is to make myself the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem right there. You know what I'm saying? That you make that. Why would I make myself a problem with someone who I just met?
So Shaya said here, financial abuse.
I see that. Shaya, what do you mean by financial abuse, my love? And until we get a response from her, I'll just think about what she's saying. When I think about financial abuse, I think only what you allow is what will continue. And people will only play with you as long as you allow them to play with you. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I've never been in a relationship, but I'm not getting into a relationship until I'm equally yoked. Meaning my partner has to make just as much as me, have just as much as me, or have more than me for me to be with that person. And I'm not willing to settle. You know what I'm saying? I'm not willing to lower my standards just because I want to be in a relationship so bad. I'm only 25 years old. I know I'm not on the 25, guys. I know I look like I'm 30. My hair looks crazy, but don't worry, I'm going to fix this bad boy in Colombia at the end of the year. So,
mm-hmm.
What you say?
I have a question for you. So you said settling. Settling has been like a topic of discussion for the past few months that I've noticed. Everyone's been like touching. Do you think that settling is a negative thing?
100%. I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. So very often, in the words of Vianna Van Zandt, people want to be in relationships, but the only relationship that you could be in is a reflection of the relationship that you are in with yourself. So if you want somebody to be good to you, you got to start off by being good to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't want to be alone. Some people don't even like silence. I know people, and I used to be one of those people who didn't like silence. Because when you are silent, you are stuck with your thoughts. So rather than be stuck with your thoughts, you play music. Rather than be stuck with your thoughts, you call your friend. Rather than be stuck with your thoughts, you play TV. Rather than be stuck with your the things that are distractions as opposed to sitting in it and sitting in what you're going through.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so Shaya said financial abuse. I would love to hear exactly what she meant by that. Do you think
Right.
that people can be financially abusive? I mean, do you
I
think we
mean,
can like
that's a tough, money's a sensitive topic, but like I said, only I
too
would
much topic though? I think people need to talk about it.
if
Yeah.
you got a man who you need to have that bag, you can't expect him to have that bag later on. You know what I'm saying? You got with a man who you've been taking care of him since the minute you met him, then what do you expect? You know what I'm saying? You're allowing him to financially abuse you. I mean, for people out there, I'm trying to find the appropriate way to say this, but men who are
Just say it and we'll fix it later.
men
Because you know, I think we
on the who are blessed with functions that are larger than most.
wait, repeat that because you froze up a little bit.
So men who were blessed, here we go. Men who were blessed with body parts that are larger than most. I have learned get away with a lot of things that men who were born with smaller body parts don't get away with.
What do you mean? Like,
So what I've learned with people is because the sex is so good, they are willing to negate that which they truly feel.
I can see that.
Because it's so good. And I saw a picture one day and it says, this is what you're getting into a relationship with. And it was a man with a lot larger body part. And I thought about it, damn, I've been in situations like that too, baby, where he was a bum baby, but baby, he put it down to brown, okay? And then I had to realize that that's all he was good for.
So what he laid it down in bed, but he couldn't do anything else.
We couldn't do nothing else. And after a while, sex is a temporary emotion. After a while, as you can see, like I'm fab. I like to travel. I like a nice cocktail.
Well, let me ask you a question, right? You know, you said you wanted to find someone that's equally yoked, right? You know, someone you can be equally yoked with. Do you think that that's too, like, it can take you a long time to find that because you're looking for, you know, this perfect person that, you know, because everyone has flaws, right?
I have a prime example. When back in 2020, pre-pandemic, I was in, not only was I in therapy, I had a life coach as well. And then she told me, tell me some of the things that you want in a partner. So I wrote down all of these things that I want in a partner. Like I just had this elaborate list. And then she asks me, so all these things that you have on the list, do you practice these things yourself? I looked at her like, not too much, sis. Not too much. And I actually got defensive, but then I came back the following week, like, girl, you know what? Half of this stuff on the list, I don't practice myself yet. So she said, how can you expect for someone to come and bring all of these things if these are not habits you practice yourself? How can you expect somebody to exhibit all of these traits and these are none of the traits you practice yourself? And yes, it takes time to find not the perfect mate, but to find the mate that you are equally yoked with, somebody who makes you happy, somebody who you don't look down to, somebody who makes you happy, and someone who understands you, and somebody who you've taken the time to get to know.
So like I've heard someone say that, you know, success is what is it? Success is the key to happiness, and it's the glue that makes happiness stick. So with that phrase right there,
I see success as a journey. So you set goals and you meet them. And as you meet the goals, you succeed.
So do you think that, you know, a person can come in your life and actually make you happy, you know, if you don't have like any personal, you know, goals that you know that you find that can get you anywhere? Do you think that actually having a person in your life can make you happy if you're not happy within yourself?
Absolutely not. If you're not happy and content with yourself, how are you going to go be happy and content for someone else? If you're not happy for yourself, how are you genuinely going to go be happy for someone else? Like it just doesn't work. So you could go put on a facade and go be happy for someone else. But then this is what I learned, is that God does not bless mess. And anything that starts off wrong will never flourish. If your intentions when you got into a relationship weren't pure and weren't rooted in kindness, then the relationship will never flourish. There will always be bumps on the road. And when you have to make something work, then it just means it does not work. Because a relationship is not work. It's something, yes, that you have to commit yourself to. Yes, that you have to be, show up and be a part of. But it's not something, it shouldn't feel like work. It should feel like I love this person loves me. I respect this person respects me. So I am willing to be the best person, the best version of myself, so that I could be the best version of myself for my partner.
So when is enough enough? Like, when does a person walk away from a situation? Because what I just heard you say was that, sometimes, we want like a long list of, we want not the perfect guy, but we want the guy that has, maybe a great education, a person that has money, because women want to feel secure. Men want to feel secure too. And it's not just women, men too, right?
Asking for nothing you don't got yourself.
So like, how do we get to that space,
Well, like I just said, to me, don't go asking for nothing you don't have yourself. So if you don't have work ethic, if you don't have a savings account, if there's everything that you're looking for in a partner, like I just said earlier, make sure those are the things that you practice yourself, my love. You can't be expecting for your man to be this or your woman or your partner to be this person who just has it all figured out and you don't have it figured out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my girlfriend earlier and she said, you're not going to find a partner staying in your house. I said, well, girl, there's a multitude of things going on in my life right now that I need to clean up. I don't want to, of course, I could go on a date with somebody and I could go finesse and I could go say what I want to say, but am I being truthful? Am I telling the truth? And I'm not. I'm putting on so that you can like me, as opposed to showing up to the situation as the very best version of myself, as the very much healed version of myself.
Mm-hmm. So so your friend said you can't meet someone being in your house. So dating in 2022 in the age of social media, how does that work? Because nowadays that's how people are meeting each other. I mean, they have Tinder, they have what are these other sites? I mean, they have.
No. What I will say is, I never clip in nobody's DMs. So can nobody said I clip in their DMs.
Okay.
Because it's just, for me, I just don't know why people are so thirsty to be in relationships and they're not thirsty to build their bank account. They're not thirsty to build 6 months of saving. If there's anything that we could have learned from this global crisis, is to prepare for the unthinkable.
I agree.
And I feel like people's energy is so focused on so many other things than what is pertinent. And when you get into a relationship with someone, it's so much. This is what my therapist told me. When I was running from my issues, but helping heal other people, she told me, I know why it's easy for you to help other people heal. Because then if you help other people heal, then you can run from your problems. Because then I would tell myself, oh, damn, I did God's work today. Damn, this person just left my room and they.
Mm-hmm.
Go working. Best believe I've been on this personal development journey since 2015, and personal development is something that I've been rooted in since I was a little kid. For years, people have been telling me to make a YouTube, to make TikToks, to do all of these things on the platform. But after reading one of Iyanla Vanzant's books, and she said it wasn't until I was 30 years old that I realized that I was insane. And it wasn't until 50 that I got healthy. She said I could smile in someone's face and heal them, but then I would go home and put a gun to my head. Now, I've never been suicidal, guys. And if you're feeling that way, baby, it's going to get better. You don't want to die. You just want to stop hurting. Mm-hmm. And I learned then that I couldn't continue to put others' happiness and put others' joy before my own. That I come first. And that if I love myself wholeheartedly and truly and undoubtedly, then I know that one day God will send me the perfect partner and the partner that's equally yoked and that's for me. And until then, I'm going to continue doing my work. I could have been doing stuff like what we're doing now. It's not rooted in truth. It's not. I don't want to give people advice that I have not taken myself, which is why it took me so long to be able to come on a platform like this and to, educate people and share some of my personal development knowledge with people, because I didn't want to be fake. At the end of the day, when you lay your head at night at home, you know what the truth is. Once you take your wig off, once you take your makeup off, once you do those things, you have to sit with your truth, baby. Whether you run from it or not, the truth stays up here, whether you let it come out from your mouth or not. And I just knew that I needed to do the work so that when I showed up in this space, the most jubilant and happy and joyous version of myself is showing up.
Mhm, mhm. I have a, let's go on to the next topic that we discussed, which I don't want to, why do people really pick their partners? What are your
Hmm?
thoughts? Why people really pick their partners? Like, do you,
It's
so let me just kind of go over what the discussion for the week before last was. Basically, um someone mentioned that one of the cast mentioned that people pick their partners because they pick them based on how they grew up. So like if your mother was loving and caring and she was a cook, you most likely will try to find that in someone else
They
or
say that
anyone.
men marry something equivalent to their mother, and women marry something equivalent to their father.
Is that true? Do you find that to be true?
Somewhat and some not. For people who unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to grow up with parents in their house and had a guardian or was raised by their mother and all, people go and go, like I said earlier, habituate the same thing they see. So if no one ever showed you a healthy relationship and you don't know what a healthy relationship is and you get into a relationship, then you're not going to know what you do. See, people have to do an investigation of the truth and what the truth is to them. And I had to do that work. I had to learn what really was the truth to me. Not the truths that I was told growing up, but what feels and resonates like the truth to me. And so many people get into relationships, like I said earlier, because they don't want to be alone. You know,
Hmm.
Shirley just said it's a form of control, 100%.
Hmm.
Get into a relationship and they are the dominant one and they want to control the situation. You know, when you shouldn't be in a relationship with someone who you want to control.
I mean, who wants to be controlled, right? I mean, I guess there are some people that, what do you think, that want to be controlled? Are there people that you think possibly want to be controlled, like they're comfortable in that situation?
100%. Girl, I don't know if people are into when some people are into some things, and I don't. I'm bondage to those things. But what I
Okay.
will say, if you want to be controlled in a relationship, you might have to go. Once again, you might. There's some work that you need to do. Because why do you want to be controlled by someone? Why don't you want to have your independence? Another thing I've seen in relationships is relationships with people who get too consumed with one another. To me, a relationships are two people coming into one another's lives with lives that were already established. So what's happening is I'm trying to make room for you, and you're trying to make room for me.
Hmm.
So as we're trying to make room for one another, you shouldn't give somebody direct access to you the minute you met them. You should take the time.
So let's talk about direct access real quick. You said that some people give people, men or women, give each other direct access. How should that go? Like, should okay, we went on a date today, and let me give him like maybe a 1 week break, or how what are your suggestions?
So, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, number three is belongingness. So, it is normal and it is human behavior for us to want to be wanted and for someone else to want us and for us to want someone else. It's just natural human behavior. With that said, you have to police that wanting. You have to police and know that it is okay to be alone.
Hmm.
You don't want to be alone and you don't want to be by yourself. Why would somebody else want to be with you?
Hmm. Hmm.
If you don't take the time to get to know your triggers, what makes you mad, what makes you sad, what makes you happy, then what are you going to do? Figure it out when you get into a relationship and learn as you go?
Mm-mm.
For me, I did an investigation of what the truth feels like to me. I learned how to love myself. And I know
Hmm.
that for nothing. You know, I may not have a man baby, but I do have a great sex life. And I use systems.
Oh my God, Eddie, you're too much. Okay, Tuti Arsu, she says some people like to be dominated and deal with narcissistic partners. Let's talk about that. Some people like to be dominated
Because
and
that's
they like
what
to
you
deal
want
with
to do.
narcissistic
So
partners.
you have to get pounced on by your pops, no disrespect, Or if you saw your mother put up with abuse from your father and staying at the whole relationship, then what do you think you're going to go do? You're going to go find someone who dominates you because no one showed you what a healthy relationship looks like. So now it's your responsibility to find out, what does a healthy relationship look like to me?
So let's just unpack what narcissism is.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Let me give everybody a formal definition. I'll Google it.
let's go ahead. Let's do this because we need to talk about that. I think a lot of women or men deal with narcissistic people, and they just kind of stick there.
Is a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and lack of empathy for others. All of those things are things that you are taught as a child. You're taught as a child how to be empathetic. You're taught as a child how to not be selfish. You're taught as a child how to care for other people. And once again, everything that you was not taught as a child, it is now your responsibility once you become an adult to teach yourself those things. Because once you become aware, you become accountable. And if you have someone in your life telling you the same thing, or if numerous people in your life are coming to tell you something, then it's okay to be the problem. Because once you become aware, you then become accountable. And then you take the necessary steps to become a better person, to show up differently in the world, to make a different decision, to not continue to do things the way you used to do them.
Right, right. Do you think that a lot of people stay in like narcissistic, like relationships with not narcissistic people because they're afraid that they won't find anyone else?
So many people stay in relationships because they're afraid that they won't find someone else. And it's I don't want to say it's sad, but I feel like it's disheartening because all you are continuing to do is dishonor yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you dishonor yourself, you are not joyful, you are not happy. Love does not hurt because love is patient. Love is jealous because love is kind. And when you are in a relationship that you don't feel hurt in, then why continue to be in it?
Mm-hmm.
But you can only go as far as you was taught. And if you saw that what you saw growing up didn't feel good, then you have an opportunity to rewrite and reshift the paradigm of your life. There's no more important time in life. There's no better time in life to choose yourself. And when you choose yourself to, I choose to heal, I choose to love, I choose to do an investigation of what the truth is, and I choose to be a better person in this world. And if that means that I have to take
Mm-hmm.
responsible and I have to tell the truth, I mean, you have to tell the gut honest truth about how it happened, what you did so that you don't do it again. See, experiences are God's way and life's way and the universe's way of teaching you and giving you an opportunity to have a bank of knowledge. Oh, I've seen this before. I've seen a bitch behave like this before and she is done. Okay. And lots of us are fixers. We see crazy and instead of going across the street, we run and we not, because all of us think we can fix it. This is not build a bear. If you want to build a bear, baby, go to the store. Anything that you build up, any woman that you build up, you are building them for the next person, and that is a fact.
That is a fact. That is a fact. So Eddie, like the last one that we were going to talk about, which is what you came on our last video to talk about, was believing in oneself and manifestation. How can people cross over? Like, how can people stop, repeating the same cycles? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to me, if anyone believes in your walk of faith is doubt, you can't have faith and then doubt at the same time because it's like a negative and a positive. You have to believe from the pits of your soul that all that life has to offer is granted to you as well. My favorite scripture is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you, not harm you, plans to excel you, not hinder you, plans to give you hope in the future. And when I learned about that scripture, I knew then that I am not only entitled, but I am going to go after every single last thing that life has to offer because I deserve it. And the reason why, I was thinking the other day, why does everything always work out for me? The reason why things always work out for me is because I put the work in for things to work out for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I have done the work. I tell myself the truth. And it took a long time to get to this place. I'm not perfect. I have shortcomings. I have accounts of people who, when I am going through something I go to, one of my closest friends is on the call right now, and he has sent me notes already. He told me to slow down. He told me,
Just having like a nice group of friends and people around yourself.
100%, and being honest and holding yourself accountable and respecting people. Respect is at the premise of any relationship. If you respect someone, then guess what? You won't continue to do that which they don't like. All my friends say that I'm progressive because when they tell me something that I don't like, you know what I do? I modify that behavior right away. I don't keep on doing something that someone told me that they don't like. Because you know why? When you keep on doing something that someone says that they don't like, guess what? You don't respect them.
Right. And do you think that people like don't think about like they don't think that they're disrespecting others?
You know, because people too focused on themselves.
Dang, that's a shame. That's a shame. So how do we get to a space where we can manifest the things that we want? Love ourselves, because I mean, respect ourselves, because people only can respect you as far as you respect yourself, right? How do people get to that space?
You have to see, believe, and then achieve. So you have to be a visionary. You have to envision what it looks like. What does that piece look like? What does that house look like? What does that job look like? What does that bank account look like? What does that vacation? You have to first envision it.
Mm-hmm.
To the atmosphere, then you have to put the work in to get it. See, a lot of people don't know about delayed gratification. People think that life is like the microwave, and it's not.
Let's talk about delayed gratification real quick, and maybe we can actually talk about that next week. But
Okay.
let's talk a little bit about delayed gratification. How does that start?
Sure, let me give everybody the formal definition.
Let's make it happen.
Delayed gratification is the ability to postpone an immediate gain in favor of a greater and later reward. So basically, if you know that the money bag is on the other side, then instead of, my mom says, don't take shortcuts in life, because when you take shortcuts in life, you miss out on lessons that you would have learned taking the longer route. Mm-hmm. So manifestation, another Bible scripture, call it those things as though they were, even though they not be. So that's what manifestation is. That's what the word of God says. And then what this big word that everyone uses now about manifesting. But you can't manifest and not put the work in to achieve it. You got to see it, believe it. And then guess what? When the time is going to bless you with everything you ask for. And guess what? When he blesses you with what you ask for, you are going to soar. You are going to excel, because he's not going to bring you to nothing that you're not going to do well in. But you got to put the work in. You got to be okay with saying, hey, you know what? No, I'm not going out. You know, I told my friends, hey, I'm not going outside this weekend. But guess what? My rent is paid. And then they go, no, come on. No, girl, I'm not going outside, because delayed gratification. We could go out in 2 weeks. Right now, I'm focused on what's in front of me. And the most important thing is that my bills are paid. Are your bills paid?
Mm. Let me ask you a real quick question, right? You talked about, oh my God, you are funny. Geez, I lost my train of thought, but you said a lot of good stuff there. What does doing the work mean? Like, you talked a lot about doing the work. Let's talk about that a little bit, because like doing the work could mean anything to anyone. Like, there's people out there that they're still hanging around the same circle. There's people out there that
accountable.
There's people out there that are still hanging around the same circle, still talking to the same people, are not putting themselves in environments where they can see where they see growth, or where they see someone they aspire to be, right? So how, like, what does putting in the work mean? Like, what does that mean, and how do people get there? Like, because sometimes, all you see before you think that's all it is to life, right? Because there's more to life than just what's before you. There's a lot more going on. So like, how do people get there?
The last time that I was in breakdown back 2017, I knew then that was the last time that I wanted to be in that type of breakdown. My goal in life is to help people.
Let's talk about, if you don't mind, like, can we go over what that is? Like, what was your breakdown like?
Well, I know we're running out of time soon, but what the breakdown looked like is just, I noticed that things weren't going well in my life. I noticed that it was just so much unresolved conflict, trauma that was unhealed, and truths that I had not spoken yet.
Mhm.
And if you want to heal, if you want to get on the other side of your problems, then it starts with making a different decision. For me, I could be in any environment. I was born and raised in the South Bronx, and before I obtained an education, I so in the hood, I've sat down, I've showed with crackheads. I'll be honest. Some I know crackheads today who are the sweetest people. If I go back to New York, I still find them in the same place where I left them, but they are the sweetest people I know. They always give. She said, "Oh, leave him alone. That's my friend who always dresses nice." And to me, it's really not about the social circles that you're in. It's about your self control. No social circle, no one can influence me to do nothing that I don't want to do. So I can have a friend who's a CEO of a multi-million dollar corporation, and I can also have a friend that works at McDonald's, and I motivate that person, go try to become a manager, try to become the best version of yourself that you could be. So how do you get to the other side of your problems? You get to the other side of your problems by first noticing and understanding that you have a problem. I think the big problem people have is not knowing that they have a problem. That's scary then. That's when we in scary territory when you don't know that you have an issue.
Well, let me ask you a question, right? They say that, well, you just said that, if you hang around a group, you have to be conscious of who you are among your peers, your social circle. But I've heard someone say that if you hang out with 5 negative people, you're guaranteed to be the 6th. If you hang around 7 broke people, you're guaranteed to be the 8th. If you hang around, so does your does your,
If
does
you
your
allow
circle matter?
It's
I mean,
only allow that because you have control over yourself. I have a few friends who are not financially stable. That doesn't make them great people. That doesn't mean that I make the same decisions that they make. You know what I do? I lead by example. And if you lead by example and people don't change, then you then have to make a decision if you want to continue to be around these people. I just met, I just changed social circles, and now I am in social circles that I never thought that I would be in. And I'm hanging out with gays that are fab, that, oh, you see their Instagram girls, they traveling the world. But baby, once I started hanging out with them, the day I started hanging out with one of my girls, I seen all her issues. I said, oh, wow, girl. I said, gay, mouth open. I mean, this bitch popped it off. First day we hung out, she popped it off with. The reason why I'm still friends with that person is because they are coachable and they hold themselves accountable. And when I brought to awareness the things that they was doing, they immediately, instead of fighting me and telling me that what I was experiencing, I was not experiencing, they showed me that they were coachable. They showed me that they want to change and that they just didn't have that proper guidance. So if you're in a group of 6 people and all 5 people are broke and you're the person with the most money, if you have taken the opportunity to teach those people how to do things differently and they are choosing to continue to be in the same rut, then you have to make a decision on who you want to be around. But to me, no one can influence me to do nothing that I don't want to do. So, you have to have a level of self-control. You have to have a level of understanding and a level of respect for yourself and integrity. And to know that it doesn't matter what situation you are in, you make the decision.
Right. Eddie, this is amazing. We're going to have to reserve this a little bit for the coming weeks. So, listen, we're going to wrap it up. Any last thing that you want to say to the viewers, reintroduce yourself. We have follow who at who, what is it? Who,
Eddie, the one and only.
How do you say it? How do you say it?
Who, me, Eddie, the one and only, the baddest. No, in all seriousness, just to reintroduce myself, because I didn't introduce myself at the top of the call. My name is Edwin Bernardes, but everyone calls me Eddie. I was born and raised in the South Bronx. Carla is my blood cousin. We are both our parents are born and raised in Honduras and migrated to the USA back in the 80s and 90s with the hopes of offering not only Carla's siblings, but my siblings and I an opportunity at an improved quality of life. Back in 2016, I ventured and moved out of New York City and moved to Atlanta, Georgia to pursue higher education, where where I then went to Morehouse College, where I obtained my Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology with a concentration in industrial organizational psychology, which is basically the human resources and the study of the workplace and why people behave how they behave at work and all those nuances. And personal development has been something that I have been rooted in my whole entire life. I always put others before myself, that was another lesson I had to teach myself, that I come first, and that the term "my cup runneth over" means that everything that runs over that you put into the saucer is what.
Come on, Eddie, spit that fire.
And if there's anything that I could tell each and every people who showed up today to the call, is that you are worthy, you are enough, and there's no situation and there's no puzzle that your spirit can't put together. So you want change in your life, it starts with you making this decision that you don't want to no longer want to live in the state that you're living in. And I promise you, once you set an intention, the universe will just open up for you.
Real quick, Eddie, you talked about truth, and maybe we can unpack that next week, right? How do people start looking at themselves for truth?
Go Google
we talk about that all the time, but we talked about that today. But I'm just saying, how do people get into that space of being truthful with themselves? Because sometimes we can be in denial about a lot of stuff. Like I've done that on numerous occasions. Like, how do you get to that space? Like, what do you think? Like, how? Talk to us.
Get yourself a piece of paper. We thought about, because I started, get yourself a piece of paper.
Right. You are too much.
Split it in half.
Yes.
Every single last lie you have ever told yourself. If you said I am ugly, on the other side, I am beautiful. If you say I am stupid, on the other side, I am smart. Start off by telling yourself every single last lie you've told yourself. Then the next step is ask yourself, where did I learn to tell the truth? Because for me, my mother used to say when I was younger, why, how am I so clever? And it's like, girl, because I learned from you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to, and here's another thing, just because when you start doing an investigation of the truth, it doesn't make anyone wrong. It doesn't make anyone right. Because what is done is done. Whoever raised you did the best they could with what they knew. It doesn't mean that you don't have to clean up the aftermath, but it just means that these people know there's no manual to parenting. I'm a child of immigrant parents. I'm a child of parents who are basically like boomers. You know what I mean? So they come from an era where women did not have voice, where the men led the household. The world has evolved. I was born in 1996, and the world that I live in today is not the same world that I saw in the early 2000s. The world has evolved, and we have to not only adapt to the change, but we have one thing that will always remain consistent is love, respect, kindness, everything that we're made of. And if you get to the root of where you learn how to tell the truth, what the truth is to you, and you do an investigation of the truth, and you start tapping in, okay, this is the truth that someone told me, but this doesn't feel like the truth to me no more. This is what I feel the truth is. Then you can start the path to your healing. But every single lie you tell to yourself, you're making it harder and harder for you to grow past that which you've encountered.
Well, how do people know that they are lying? Like, let's say, for example, you're in a
situation that the people may not have time at this time. The mind can only endure what the butt can handle, and we're gonna have to.
Eddie,
we're gonna have to do a whole topic on truth.
Yo, you said what? Repeat that.
I said we're gonna have to do a whole, session on truth.
Okay, so you know what? You said the mind can only endure what the butt
can handle.
Oh my God, what does that mean?
We took people to school with this today, baby. It's been an hour.
We gotta give them that. I need to understand.
I'm tired. They want to tune in next week at 9. We can't give them all, baby. This is an hour session.
All right, fine. We'll close out. But you got to write that one. I'm writing that one down. We're going to open up with that.
With what?
With what you just said, that little piece right there.
What I say, girl? I said what?
Look, the mind can only endure what
the butt can handle. 100%. Yeah, people get tired after a while. After a while, people don't just want to sit in the same space. People are like,
it's okay.
I know I'm keeping y'all laughing, and I know y'all think I'm a kiki because I am.
Listen, this is amazing, guys.
I am a key.
we'll see you guys next week. Eddie, we love you. We love having you on. You've hit us with a lot of great things to think about. I think this was fun. It was funny, fun, and it was exciting. Wait a minute before we go, real quick. Just wanted to kind of go over um, the the Marius. I
Tomorrow, I went to school with him. That is my good brother.
He said he agrees with you. Andre Jackson.
That is my other brother who I went to Morehouse with.
We love you guys. Okay. We have
You wa-
Thea taking notes. Thanks, Eddie.
and next week we'll have a more of like a Q&A. So you guys will get your questions ready. That way for the last 15 minutes, we'll always do like a Q&A where you can ask Eddie.
Let's do it as Eddie session.
But if you come and ask Eddie for some advice, we get prepared to give the truth, honey, because I'm going to give it to you straight, honey. I'm going to give it to you straight, no chaser.
Straight no, we like that. We love that. So we're definitely gonna handle it next week. I think this is amazing. Eddie, thank you for coming on.
Oh, anytime, anytime. I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me. And in the words of my good girl Yama, they saying, deep bow to you all. You know, in the Asian culture, the most admiration and respect. Come on, I'm being serious. You think everything is a come on.
Go ahead, do your thing.
In the Asian culture, the most admiration and respect you could give to someone is to bow to them. So I want to say to you guys, deep bow of love and admiration. And thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, for asking questions, and for allowing me to just shed a little light on how I've grown and what personal development means to me.
Oh my God, it's amazing. And I hope that we are impacting people, to also develop themselves. So this is amazing, Eddie. And we look forward to having you back next week.
Okay, I appreciate you. I'll see you guys next week.
Guys.